Hi, everybody. Welcome to the channel. This is Ron Guth, and today is the 8th of February, 2023. And this is the live stream where you get to pick my brain. Hopefully, some of you will come on board with some questions tonight. Let me adjust the lighting here. This is horrible, horrible, horrible. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, there's a little bit better color. Oh, we've got two people on here. Go ahead and you can start asking questions. All you got to do is go into the chat and let's see if we can't get some good questions and good answers. I look blue. Oh, that's weird. Okay, there you go. All right, well, let's go ahead and I'll talk a little bit about what happened. I haven't done a live stream for 2 weeks, so let me give you a little bit of an idea of what's happened in the meantime. The big event, of course, was the Long Beach show last week, and that was a pretty good show. They had a couple issues. I went up there Wednesday for the setup, and normally setup starts at noon, but apparently they weren't quite ready with the tables, the setup, and everything, so they delayed the. They didn't allow the dealers until about 12:15 or 12:20. Had heard a couple of complaints about that, but I didn't get there till around 2 o'clock anyway. I mainly went up there to walk the floor, and I think I've recommended to all of you before that you try to get an early bird badge, and that's so that you can get in and try to get some of the good deals that are there, and then it's like getting first shot on some of the coins. So I went up with the plan to get an early bird badge. But when I got there, if you don't pre-order the early bird badge at Long Beach, they are $100 online. But if you don't order them online and you show up at the show, it's $125 a piece. So I was willing to pay that, but I talked to Taryn Warwicker, who runs the show, and I said, "Do you have any tables left still?" And she said, "Yes." So I ended up getting a table and applying the $125 to the table fee, which worked out great. But that also meant that I didn't have any inventory with me, so I had to drive all the way back to San Diego, where I live, and it's in good traffic, it's 2-hour drive. In bad traffic, it can be 3 to 6 hours. Fortunately, it was decent traffic, so I got home fairly quickly. Went up the next day and brought a bunch of coins with me, and I went to the bank, got stuff out, and went up, and I had a good show. I mean, they didn't sell all the tables. There were a couple dealers that didn't show up because of storms in the Midwest, and particularly in Texas. The Heritage booth, which is normally chock full of people, several of the people weren't able to make it out. So on Wednesday at setup, there was only one person there. The next day, I think some of the people got in. For that reason, the dealer attendance at the show was off a little bit. And like I said, there were some tables that were not sold. But overall, I think it was a good show. And I was pleased with the amount of business that I did. On Wednesday nights at Long Beach, I typically go to dinner with a couple people, regulars. And for many years, we've been going to a little Italian restaurant in Long Beach called Piccolo Mondo, which means small world. And unfortunately, due to COVID, just like everybody else, they had problems, and apparently they had to close. So this is the first time in many years when we couldn't go to Piccolo Mondo on the Wednesday night. So we had to find an alternative. And we ended up going to L'Opera, which is a high-end Italian restaurant right up the street from the convention center, and had a really nice dinner there. I usually go to dinner with Sharmi Harker, who is the Penny Lady. She's well known in the industry. Carl and Joanne Stevens, who are the foreign dealers, good friends of mine also. And then Rich Wogeman, who is what Sharmi calls her show husband, because he helps her out at her tables and is pretty much her sidekick. He's a really nice guy, and so that was a fun dinner. I can tell you, inflation has really made it difficult or much more expensive to go out and eat. Lopera, which has always been a expensive restaurant, is now really expensive. But they do have great food. It was really wonderful food. If you want to see a little bit more about details of this trip, go to Sharmi Harker's Penny Lady show report. It's on the PCGS message boards. And Sharmi takes a lot of pictures. She does a wonderful show report. And you can find out a little bit more about that dinner that evening and see what we ate. I mean, she actually took pictures of what we ate. The next night, on Thursday night, we also go to a restaurant called Captain Jack's, and this is a restaurant in Seal Beach. And that's one of the things about going to coin shows. We're pretty much stuck in the room, and we don't really get out very often, but we usually go out and have a nice dinner. So that's one of the highlights of the trip. Silver Oceans is on. Hello, nice to see you. Silver Oceans is a good friend. He's got his own channel and sort of a silver stacker channel. Maybe he might give more details, but I'm going to do an interview with him on Friday, I believe it is. Could be tomorrow. Let's see. Anyway, I'm going to be doing an interview with Silver Oceans, and I think you'll find it to be very interesting because he approaches it from the the bullion side of it, although he does handle rare coins as well. And I handle it more from the rare coin side. So it's kind of like, two worlds coming together and discussing, strategies and, what customers should do, what they buy, what they're looking for. So it should be a very interesting conversation. So make sure you check out his channel. It's Silver Oceans. And he's got some great videos up that I think are very interesting and can give you a lot of information, especially if you're interested in silver bars and that sort of thing. So I recommend that you go see his channel. Anyway, to get back to the show, on Thursday night, Sharmi and Rich and I went to Captain Jack's, which is at Seal Beach, and it's a seafood restaurant most famous for their king crab legs. Well, I've always gotten king crab legs there, and usually, I mean, it's expensive, but it was like, as I remember, it was $50 to $60 for the crab legs. Well, this time it was a little bit different. They used to walk around with this big board that had, a list of everything on their menu with it, and they would stand there. It's almost like a sandwich advertising sign. This time they've gone to like a regular menu, and on the menu is king crab legs, and it's market price. I said, well, it's always been market price, $50, $60. So I said, I'll take the king crab legs. And as it turned out, when I got the bill, they were $110 for the king crab legs. And, I can afford it, but I really can't afford it. So it's one of those situations where it's still worth it, but it's expensive. Friday, the show is good. I met some new people, made some good contacts. Oh, and one guy that I met, a Silver Ocean says, "Whoa, what's that for?" Oh, probably the price of the crabs. Yeah. On Thursday night, when we went to dinner at Captain Jack's, I met one of Sharmi's clients who she brought with her, and he had just recently purchased a 1793 chain cent, an S2, Sheldon 2 variety in AU53, which is really high grade for a chain cent. And I believe that Sharmi's show report for maybe the Baltimore show, or it could be the Fun show. Yeah, probably the Fun show. She did a report where she talked about how this customer bought the thing. So you can see it there, and there are actually pictures of the coin. It's just an incredible coin. It's glossy brown, just perfect chocolate brown color. It has some fissures on the back, which are just minor defects in the planchet that were there in the plancha before the coin was struck. So they're really not, they're there, but they're not disturbing. But this coin, I've seen pictures of it, and depending on who took the picture, it always looks like a great coin. But boy, when you see it in real life, it's just a phenomenal coin. I got to see it the next morning when Sharmi's customer came to the table, and he showed me his typeset of large cents. And it included pretty much every type. I don't think he has a Liberty Cap 1793, but they don't normally come nice. So we'll see if he ever finds one nice enough to add to his set. And this is not, they don't have to be, gem uncirculated, although he has some of those. But if it's a nice AU or better coin with just beautiful surfaces, nice color, and that sort of thing, he's your customer. So if you can find a nice AU Liberty Cap 1793 set, good luck. But that's what he's looking for. Show activity was good. Like I said, I looked over at the heritage lot viewing, and it seemed to be a little sparse. But one of the nice things about the technology today is that the imaging is so good, and heritage takes such good pictures that you almost don't really need to go to lot viewing unless you're, really, really trying to look at a coin for, say, like a crack out potential or upgrade potential. But generally, you can trust the images, and they show the front and back of the coin, a close-up of the coin, and they also show the coin in a holder. So you get a lot of information. But anyway, their big sale is coming up tomorrow on the 9th of February. And I think we have a lot of Bender coins coming up. I think there's some Bass coins in there. So there will be some fireworks tomorrow, and I'll report on that next Wednesday after the sale's over. There should be some real fireworks. So if you have any questions, those of you who are on, please ask them. Ask them now so that I can answer something for you. Otherwise, I have to make stuff up, and I'm happy to do that. One of the things that I do is coin research. And what I'm doing is I'm building a database of images of United States coins. And these are, condition census coins, the very finest coins known. And so I see a lot of Eliasberg coins, Norweb coins, and other things like that. But I'm always looking to reattach pedigrees, because what happens over time is that sometimes for some reason, and there's actually a number of reasons, that people strip the pedigrees off of coins. One reason might be to hide the fact that it appeared at auction before. They don't want you to know what they paid for it. They don't want you to know what it graded. So there's various reasons that they're not there. So I'm always looking to reattach pedigrees. And I found one today that I'll tell you about, but I have a couple comments and questions here. So let me hit those first. Walker Azul asked me, what is the coolest coin you saw at Long Beach? That's a good question. I mean, I saw a lot of neat coins. There are two coins that I didn't see that I wish I had. One of them was a Moffett and Company $16 ingot. This is a little tiny rectangular ingot that was made in California during the time of the gold rush, when there were no coins in circulation and private mints came up and started turning gold dust into coins. They did it in either coin form, or in the case of the Moffett and Company, they made these tiny little ingots. And Moffett and Company made a number of different coins and ingots, but the ingot is, in my opinion, the coolest because it's stamped with their name. It's 22 carats, and they put the value on it, which is $16. Well, $16 had to do with the price of gold at the time, like an ounce of gold was worth $16, or there was a relationship between silver and gold. Gold was 16 times the price of silver. Well, anyway, they had these little ingots. I've always wanted one. It's always been way beyond my reach. And now those little ingots cost over $300,000. So I didn't get to see the one. This was one that David McCarthy had at Kagan's, and I believe he sold it at the show, which is why I didn't see it. But that to me would just, be a cool coin. It's not $10 million. It's not $50 million, but it's a cool coin. The other cool coin was a $50 slug, also from the gold rush era, that apparently is in an MS-65 holder, which is huge for a slug. And that was priced at something like 1.75 million. David told me about it, but I didn't get to see it, and that would have been a neat one. One cool thing that I bought was an impression that was made with a Gobrecht dollar. Somebody took some rosin or some sort of material, and when it was soft, they pressed the Gobrecht dollar, which is from 1836 to 1839, and they mushed it into this rosin. Then the rosin hardened, and it's in a nice little display case. And it's just something that, Gobrecht dollars are $20,000 minimum, but I bought this little rosin impression, which is one of a kind. I've never seen another one like it. And it cost me $300. So I thought that was really cool. It's something that I've never seen before and probably will never see again, but now I own it. The other thing that's really cool that I bought, I actually can show this to you. In 1983, the Royal Hawaiian Mint made replicas of the 1883 Hawaiian dollar. And they're beautiful coins. They're really neat. So the crinkling it's in a protective holder here. Well, when these private minters do their thing, they have the opportunity to make odd and unusual things. And in this case, they took looks like some sort of rectangular device, and they ended up stamping it on 3 of the corners. And I don't know how close I can get here, but you can see these are just glittering proof replicas of the 1883 Hawaiian dollar. And they're really cool. They're really cool. So I think I'm going to be putting this up on eBay. I did post a short on YouTube and also another long form YouTube video about this particular item. So if you want to go look on my channel, you can actually see it. Silver Oceans notes that there is a lot of nice, not a lot, but lots of nice proof Morgan dollars in the Heritage Auction. I haven't really seen those. So I'll go take a look at them, and I recommend that you do too. They're not going to be cheap, because if they're nice, Morgan dollars are probably one of the most popular proof coins there are, besides proof gold. At least the Morgans are somewhat affordable to the average guy. Walker Azul, that's amazing, talking about the Hawaiian fantasy replicas. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that either. It's really unusual. And I mean, those are the kind of things that I like. I mean, I've been dealing in coins for 40 years, 50 years, and you see the same thing over and over again. BU Morgans are not rare. Even pan pack $50 slugs are not rare. Stellas, in my mind, are very common, and actually, in my opinion, overpriced for what you get, because there are a lot of coins that are much rarer that are a lot cheaper. But the thing about a Stella is a $4 gold piece. They're extremely popular. They're kind of a trophy coin. If you've got a Stella, you've got a neat deal. So anyway, let's see. Walker Azul says, I just bought a raw 1883 Hawaii quarter with the original Steve Ivy rare coins flip. That's a trip down memory road. I remember he used to call it Sir Coins, an acronym for Steve Ivy Rare, SIR, so it was Sir Coins. And, yeah, I remember those days. That's cool. He bought a raw 1883. What kinda grade was it? You didn't put down, what the condition was, but that's a good coin. Hawaii in 1883, uh, put out a bunch of gold coin I'm sorry, they contracted with the US Mint, to strike coins for the Hawaiian Islands. So there's a penny that was made in 1847. There's a dime, a quarter, a half dollar, and a dollar. And then there's some weird denominations like a 12.5 cent piece, but those are mostly patterns. But the Hawaiian coins are very popular, and they have a neat design. They got King Kamehameha on the front, and then a shield on the back. But what's really interesting is that they were made by the U.S. Mint, and the U.S. Mint made coins for Hawaii. They made it for Philippines, other foreign governments. So it's not unusual to see a coin made by the American Mint. Now, they're not always identified as such, but you'll see on some of the Philippines coins where they do have an S Mint mark. Silver Oceans asked, what's your favorite U.S. gold and silver coin designs and why? Okay. In the gold coins, oh, that's a good question. What do I like? Well, everybody likes the St. Gaudens $20 gold piece, especially when it's in the high relief format. In 1907, they made a high relief they made them basically for Teddy Roosevelt, who was the guy who was the force behind the change in the coin designs. But they struck a number of them for circulation. And unfortunately, the high relief was such a high relief, such a medallic coin that they required multiple strikes to make. So it's not like they were cranking them out like, they make coins today by, hundreds of thousands in a day. I think the mintage on the high relief is something like 11,000. So it's not that much, but they're big, beautiful coins. It's got a flying eagle on the reverse, the walking liberty on the front. The liberty is walking toward the camera, if you will, or toward the viewer. Just a beautiful coin. In the silver coins, I really like the Standing Liberty Quarter. That was minted from 1916 to 1930, and that's just a beautiful coin. What else is in silver? I mean, the classic early American coins, like the flowing hair and the draped bust. Those are beautiful when they're nice. If they're in low circulated condition, they just sort of like worn out. But they do have neat designs. They're simple designs that are just timeless. Then, of course, if you talk about going into, commemoratives, there's all kinds of designs there. And then don't get me going on world coins because there's, a gabillion options there. So let's see, any more questions here? No, to get back to my provenance research, today I was looking at an 1822. Let me see if we can pull this up on the screen here. 1822 Overton 110A. Overton was a guy who put together a list of all the different die varieties for half dollars. And a die variety is when you have an obverse die and then you have a reverse die, and they come together to strike a coin. Well, anytime you have a combination of this obverse and this reverse, that is a die variety. Now, this obverse might be paired with multiple reverses and vice versa. So anytime there's a difference, it's a new variety. And people try to collect one of each variety that they can possibly get. When in 1822, I don't recall exactly how many varieties there are, but there's at least 110 of them. So this is a 110A. The A means that it is a die state, or as coins are struck, the dies become worn, they can crack, they can break, they can have, a number of different issues. And so collectors not only collect the variety, but they also like the die states. Well, an Overton 110A is a die state, and what it is, it's a crack that goes on the left front of the coin, sort of glides along the stars, and it's pretty obvious. So this is what they call a late state or an advanced state of the dies. Anyway, I was going through the pictures today, and the finest known, I'm looking at it right now, the finest known is an MS66 NGC, and there's a couple. There's a 66, there's a 65 plus, 65, 65. So I try to get pictures of the top 10 examples of each one, and on the O110A, in 12th position is an MS61 PCGS graded coin. Well, it looks like it's been dipped, in my opinion, because it's white, and you normally don't have coins from 1822 that are blast white. They just can't. You can't prevent tarnish for 100 years, 200 years. Yeah, we're talking about 200 years now. 1822 to 2023. That's 201 years. The likelihood of it never tarnishing or being blast white is, pretty slim. Anyway, it's still a very nice looking coin. But I didn't have any provenance on it. I just knew that it belonged to a collector. It's on the PCGS set registry under the G. Peters collection. He's a famous or a well-known bust half-dollar collector. I'm not going to give his name for obvious reasons, but some of you may know him. But anyway, this coin has no provenance other than his name. Well, I was looking through the Eliasberg catalog because Eliasberg sold one in 1997. I should say Bowers and Morena sold one of Eliasberg's coins in 1997. It was lot 1788. It was called MS60 Proof-like. So I looked it up and compared the photos, and there it is. There is the Eliasberg coin. So anytime I can reconnect an Eliasberg coin, to me is like really exciting. So that was one of the highlights of today. Most people say whoop-de-doo, who cares? But to me, that's pretty neat. Now, Walker Azul says he has an 1822 O115, Overton 115. Let me see what, I'll do the research on that and sort of give you a sense of what I have for information. It's a rarity 3 variety, which means it's semi-scarce. It's not common at all. It's semi-scarce. And I show on my database that the finest known is only a PCGS MS64. Then there's an NGC 64, a 63 Rattler a 63 that may be in a Rattler holder if it has survived today, but it's in a Rattler holder, which is a first generation PCGS holder. And it also has a CAC sticker. So that's the third finest known. The fourth finest is a PCGS MS63, and I don't have anything lower than that. So Walker Azul, once again, what's the condition of your coin? What grade is it, and what did you pay for it, if you want to share that information? Oh, okay. Walker Azul says it's just a 55. Well, a 55 is a very acceptable grade, and he or she notes that it has a nice aquamarine color, though. That's important. I talked to you about, the fact that a coin that old is going to have some color. Most of the time, it's just a dirty, crusty, silver gray color that they get from circulation. But if they've spent any time in an album or in carefully protected in paper, they're going to pick up some nice color. And those, in my opinion, are the most desirable coins to get. You want a coin that when you look at it, you go, wow, that's really a attractive, pretty coin. Because when you go to sell the coin, you want the buyer to have the same reaction. You want them to also like the coin, because it's really hard to sell an ugly coin. If you're buying coins, don't just fill a hole. Try to find a coin that is fully struck, has great eye appeal, has neat color, uh, anything you can that is a positive. You want to stay away from negatives, because if you buy a coin that has a negative, you'll kind of always be looking at it and say, oh, why did I buy that? Or I sure wish I could replace that or upgrade it or get a different one. So keep that in mind when you're buying coins. Now, Walker Azul says it's old cleaning according to CAC, probably dipped and retoned, but still eye appealing. Oh, that's okay. There are a lot of coins that have been what we call processed. They might have been stripped and retoned. And a lot of time that's done because the original coin is so ugly. And that's why firms like PCGS and NGC have conservation services, because there are some coins that really need to be improved. I think I've talked before about, warning you not to clean your coins, to avoid cleaning your coins, but some coins just need it. And they might have material on them that could damage the coin over time. They could have, just really ugly deep toning that is unattractive. So it's okay to take that off if it's done professionally and carefully. And then sometimes coins are retoned, but to give them a more natural color. Retoning is a bit of an issue because sometimes it's deceptive. You really need to learn the difference between original toning and artificial toning. And sometimes it's a fine line. It's not all black and white. But if it's an attractive retone coin, that's great. Again, if it's attractive to you and you're happy with it, then stay with it. But try to avoid negative aspects of a coin if you can. Silver Ocean says, why don't as many people collect proof coins as compared to business strike coins? That's a good question. And I don't have a quantitative, percentage as to who prefers what. Is it 60% prefer business strikes or 40% want proofs? I don't know what it is, but I know that my experience in dealing in German coins is that for many, many years, the German coin collectors were not interested in the proofs. And there are two ways you can tell that. One, they never bought them. And second, when they did get them, they didn't handle them very carefully. So there's a lot of damaged proof coins in the German area. So it's very difficult to find, gem superb proofs because they just weren't taken care of very well. Now that's changed. The Germans used to be a hole filler type collector where they didn't care about condition at all. They just, I want a 1913 5 mark and I don't care what grade it is. So they weren't paying premiums for high quality. They didn't care about the proofs. Nowadays, that's all changed and everybody wants superb quality. They're collecting more by type than they are by date and mint mark. And they're really becoming to appreciate proof coins because they realize, oh, we screwed up. These coins, when they're nice, are really rare. So they're starting to recognize that rarity and they're willing to pay for it and they're willing to get the coins graded. So that's a development that's taken about 10 or 20 years to take place. Walker Azul says, what percent of I'm sorry. Let me go back and answer Silver Ocean's question. Why don't as many people collect proof coins? It may be because you have to be more careful storing them. If you buy a roll of Mint State Silver Eagles, unless you're getting them graded and trying to get 70s, it doesn't matter if they're clonking against each other. But you can't do that with proofs. You really shouldn't put together 20 proof Silver Eagles and put them in a roll. I mean, they're going to get damaged. And so I think that's probably the biggest reason. Number two reason is that proof coins are generally more expensive. Like if you're buying Silver Eagles from the mint, the business strikes are always going to be cheaper than the proof coins. So that cost could have something to do with it. Now, Walker Azul asked, what percent of circulated cap-bust half dollars do you think are truly original? Well, if you're talking about mint state examples, I think there's probably a lot of them that have been processed. Um, Everybody's trying to get the coins graded. They're trying to get the highest possible grade. I mean, because a single point in the mint state level is worth a lot of money, and when you get up in the 64 to 66 level, they get very expensive. So a lot of the coins have been processed in some form or fashion, but there are a smaller percentage. I would guess 25% that are original and that haven't been messed with. Now, in the circulated grades, that's a different story because it's hard to, um, in the circulated grades, you've got issues, you got wear, you've got dirt. I mean, you literally get dirt on the coins. You get toning from improper storage. I mean, these are coins that they weren't preserved by collectors, they were spent. And so they got out into circulation and they received the normal wear and tear that a coin gets out there. Um, so how many of those are original? I would say a higher percentage of those are going to be original, but you also have to worry about processed coins there. Silver Oceans asked, would you say all toning is natural? And artificial toning refers more to intention. Toning using paper or cardboard could either be done with or without intention. That is actually a good point because toning, natural toning, is something that is acquired over a long time. Artificial toning is really the same thing. I mean, it's an oxidation of the silver or the copper or the metal that the coin's made out of, but it's sped up. Toning can be done chemically, it could be done with heat, it could be done with sunlight. Artificial toning definitely refers to intention. They intend to add color to a coin. And I guess the perfect toning is the one that you cannot tell whether it's artificial or natural. And I think that exists. But for the most part, um, people talk about when I have talked to the graders about this, the professional graders, they say that artificial toning sort of like sits on the surface of the coin. A natural toning is deeper, more permanent. It's almost like spaghetti. You make spaghetti and meatballs one night, you have it, it's delicious. Put in the fridge, the leftovers in the fridge, and you have them the next day, and it's sort of like the flavors have all melded together, and it's almost better the second time around. And I think with artificial toning, it's more like spaghetti on the first night, and natural toning is like spaghetti on the second night. So kind of an interesting analogy there. But toning, I mean, I've done toning before. Back in the day when you could actually, buy dangerous chemicals, I bought some sulfur dioxide, which is SO2, and took a coin and I literally just blew the SO2 onto the coin. And you'd be amazed at how quickly the coin goes from pure white to black. And obviously, you want to slow that down. I mean, I learned my mistake right away. I said you got to put it out in small doses over an extended period. I never could use SO2 though. It just didn't work. Some people put coins in paper because paper has been processed with sulfur, most modern paper. And so if you put a coin in a paper that has been processed with sulfur, over time it will tone, and it's a much slower process, but yeah, it'll happen. Cardboard, yeah. So sulfur can be used to tone coins. It's also used in you put in like Vaseline, like sulfur, flowers of sulfur, which is powdered sulfur. You can put it in Vaseline and smear it on a copper coin, and the copper coin will turn dark brown. I mean, and you can tweak it. Just put a little bit of sulfur in and see what it does. put more. I don't like to do that stuff, but a lot of people process coins. That's how they make money. They buy coins that are ugly and beautify them a little bit, and they make money. So, to each his own, but I prefer to stay away from those. I like naturally toned coins that just have a nice original crust. And again, that's something that you can learn. You just have to look at a lot of coins. And that's why I recommend if you go to lot viewing at some of the major shows, um, sit down and examine every coin in the sale, whether you're going to buy them or not, and you'll really learn a ton. Walker Azul asks, I like proofs for color, Indian cents, Lincoln, matte proofs, seeded coins, but for older coins, I gravitate towards crusty circulated examples. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. In mint state or proof, you want to get coins that have attractive color. And there are some really beautiful Indian cents that are brown. I mean, they're called, let's say a proof 65 brown, which people say, well, I want red. I want red. Well, there are some gorgeous, gorgeous, colorful Indian head pennies that are in proof 65 brown that are just stunning, and they sell for huge multiples of the typical price for type coins. Same thing with the matte proof Lincolns. Matte proof Lincolns, I mean, that's an acquired taste because they're kind of flat and dull looking, and that's the way they were made. But boy, there's some of those that have just phenomenal color, and I can understand why you like those things. But for older coins, Walker Azul likes the crusty circulated examples. I'm with you. I mean, the crustier the better. And I don't mean crusty in the sense of dirt or crust, but when it's a beautiful, naturally toned, original, unimpaired, unmolested coin, they're just beautiful. They're just beautiful. And again, look at as many coins as you can so that you can tell the difference. And once you know the difference, you'll see them. It doesn't leave you. It's like riding a bike. You'll never forget it. Walker Azul says some folks have observed that there are a lot more rainbow tone Morgans in the market now than 20 or 30 years ago. It makes me wary of buying toners. Um, I've heard the same thing from a couple of major dealers. I think David Hall, who is a very famous dealer, founder of PCGS, and I worked with him and for him for a number of years. And he told me that he'd never seen so many toned peace dollars until the last 20 or 30 years. Back in the days, you just didn't see them that much, but now there's all these toned peace dollars, and same thing with rainbow toned Morgans. I know that people pay crazy prices for toned Morgans, and if it's the right toning, you can have $100 coin that could be worth thousands of dollars. I don't know personally how to tell the difference. I mean, I can appreciate them. I think they're beautiful, but I'm not the guy that's going to pay a huge premium for a tone coin. I like them, but I'll pay a small premium, but not a crazy premium. If you're wary of buying toners, stick with certified coins. The odds of you getting an artificially toned coin are much lower. It's not 100% guarantee that you won't, but I would definitely stick with certified coins. And again, buy coins that you like, coins that are attractive to you, that you will love to have in your collection. And that's really whether it's crusty old coins or colorful Indian head pennies or whatever, buy what you like. Because in general, if you like it, someone else is going to like it too. So that would be my recommendation. I wouldn't be afraid of buying coins, especially certified coins. One thing that I can tell you about the markets is that the U.S. market is very liquid, at least right now, and it has been for many years. When I got into German coins in 1988, one of the reasons that I did was because the profit margins were much higher on world coins. In other words, in the U.S. market, I would go to a coin show and I would be competing with other dealers, many of them more talented than me, and we were fighting for 5 and 10% profits. Occasionally, it would hit a home run, but in general, you're trying to make 5 or 10%. In the world market, you can buy coins for 50% of catalog, sell them for catalog or 10% back to catalog, and all of a sudden you're making, 100% profit or 75% profit. So the profit margins are much higher in world coins, but what you discover is that the market is much less liquid. In other words, if I had to liquidate my German coin inventory tomorrow, I would take a bath on it. I would not make anything, or I'd probably lose something. But if I take my US coins, I can sell virtually everything with a phone call or within a day. That's absolutely not the case with world coins. So you're swapping liquidity on the one hand for a higher profit margin, but in the US market, you have much higher liquidity, but a smaller profit margin. So you have to pick and choose where you want to play. Walker Azul says, I stick with PCGS CAC for toners, but I'm still scared of rainbows that sell for 10 times the price guide. Yeah, I get it. I worry about some massive AT scandal coming to light down the road. I'm not so worried about that. I think that when you look at the toning, back in the day when artificial toners really came into existence, we learned really quickly what to look for. I mean, what was initially very attractive turned out to be fake. And we learned right away who was doing it, how they were doing it, and how to stay away from it. Now, I think that, people are just like in counterfeiting coins, people are always trying to develop a better product or better technique. So I would guess that, there are some chemists out there who are working hard to create a toning that no one can detect. And if that's the case, I mean, if the toning is so good that it looks incredible, it's almost who cares? It's like if a counterfeiter could make a counterfeit coin that was undetectable, who cares? It looks like the real thing. So I would say that if you're buying toned coins with CAC sticker, 90 to 99% of the time, it's going to be an original tone coin. So I wouldn't be too scared about that. And I don't, I have my ear to the ground in the coin business, and I don't hear of any massive AT scandal coming down the road. I mean, no one is out there saying, coming up and say, do you think this is real toning? Or, should I be worried about this coin? Or can I go ahead and pay 10 times the price guide for it? That's kind of not happening. I mean, I haven't heard of anything coming down the pike, any scandal with retoned coins. But again, you have to look at lots of coins and determine for yourself what's acceptable to you in terms of color and whether you believe it's artificial or not. But again, stick with certified CAC coins and you're going to be fine. You'll be fine. Because generally with a certified coin, that adds a level of confidence that you don't get with a raw coin. If you have a certified coin, someone else down the road is going to say, yeah, okay, I accept the PCGS grade or the NGC grade, and I will go ahead and, transact with you based on that level. Silver Ocean says, have grading standards changed as more and more of a given coin type are authenticated? Well, we do have, we do have a thing in the coin industry called gradeflation. And that is where over time, an individual coin could get higher grades as time goes by, which means that The way that that happens is a coin is submitted originally, it gets a grade. Then someone might look at it and say, "Well, that's a very conservative grade, so I'm gonna go ahead and resubmit it and try to get a higher grade." And they'll do that by either cracking the coin out and resubmitting it raw, or they'll just send it in for a regrade, or they'll send it to another grading service for a crossover. And those coins will sometimes go back and forth from grading service to grading service. And there I've heard of coins being submitted 20, 30, 40 times hoping for a higher grade. Sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. Most of the time they don't, but they get it enough times that it makes it worthwhile to continue resubmitting coins that you think are undergraded or conservatively graded. Now, how big of an issue is gradeflation? Well, it's actually pretty prevalent. I would mention that I do the provenance research for coins, and I can cite hundreds and thousands of examples where I can show you where a coin sold in an MS-63 holder in 2003, and then 4 years later, it's in a 4 holder, and then it might even be in a 5 holder down the road. And some of this has to do with the graders learning. It's a learning curve. I mean, how often do any of you out there, see a gem BU bust half dollar from 1834? Probably really rarely. And that's the same thing with the graders. If you look at the submissions that come into a grading service, most of the time it's like BU Morgan dollars, coins that are very common. So they'll see a lot of one thing, but then every once in a while, a really cool collection will come in that they've never seen before. And typically what happens is the graders all get to look at it. They all get to see it because that's the best way to learn about what coins are supposed to look like. What is a 65 red half cent from 1803 supposed to look like, if it even exists? Well, you don't know till you see one. And I think that happened with one of the 1804 dollars. One of the 1804 dollars was originally graded AU 58 when it was first graded, and I think that coin is now in a 62 holder, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but it did advance in grade, and people were saying, "Well, how the heck can you have a 4-point difference in grade from a professional coin grading service?" Well, the grading services, this is the first one we've seen. We don't know what a 1804 dollar is supposed to look like. And then they look at all of the, 13 or 15 of them that are known, and they compare them, and they get to experience what they actually look like or should look like. And so they tweak their grading line as a result. So some of this is due to just grade inflation. Some of it has to do with what they've learned about particular coins. And you'll hear this from the dealers, say, "How is the grading at this show?" And some dealers will say, "Oh, it was very conservative," or it was great. If they say great, that means the grading was liberal or they liked it. So yeah, and that's why people submit and resubmit coins, is because they're hoping for a higher grade. If the gradings never changed, there would not be any economic benefit to resubmissions. So obviously, grading inflation is real, and people try to take advantage of that. Walker Azul asks, "PCGS seems to be grading like it's 1989 from what I hear. Is that like Prince with Party like it's 1999? Perhaps trying to tighten as a response to CAC-G, CAC grading service?" I don't know. I didn't hear any reports from show grading at Long Beach, so I can't say whether the grading is tight or loose. I just don't know. But if that's what you're hearing, sometimes you have to look at the source as well. If you're hearing it from 20 dealers that you trust, it's probably true. But again, a lot of this is just anecdotal. People submit coins and they have in their mind, I think this coin should be a 65, and then when PCGS grades at 64, they get all upset. When you never hear any complaints when they grade at 66, so that's a whole different issue. Um, how is PC just tightening up as a response to CAC? I don't know. Um, I mean, I would think, and I don't know, I would think that the powers that be at the grading services like PCGS and NGC are all meeting and saying, how are we going to respond to this new CAC grading service? Because it's going to be a competitor. It could be a powerful competitor. It just depends on how their product is received in the marketplace. So I guarantee you that the grading services are all meeting together and say, how are we going to respond to this? And I don't know that tightening up is a proper response. I don't know that that even needs to be done. CAC is going to grade how they grade, and they will have a standard that is going to most likely be different than PCGS and NGC. Now, is it higher or lower? We don't know. We just don't know, and we won't know until the coins come out. Now, if you look at the historical record, we could say that CAC is going to be tighter than NGC and PCGS because of the fact that they only sticker they don't sticker 100% of the coins that they see. So that implies that they're tighter. Whether that translates over into their actual grading service when they're not just judging a coin that's been previously graded, they'll have to make a decision on a coin and give it a grade, and it'll be interesting to see how that grade relates to what a CAC coin would have looked like, because I promise you there will be coins that have CAC stickers that are broken out in the hopes of receiving a better grade. Whether it'll be possible or not, we won't know. But anyway, it will be interesting to see how they respond. I heard at the show that CAC has delayed their rollout until sometime in April. So we're not going to be seeing any of their coins in holders yet until then. That I just heard that. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but we can expect to see them in the next couple months, hopefully. What else can we talk about here? It looks like, oh, well, we're pretty much done. I can't believe I've talked for an hour. I really appreciate those of you who have stayed on here. Silver Oceans, thank you very much. I look forward to my interview with you. Walker Azul, you had some absolutely wonderful questions, and that's what this is all about. I want to hear from you what you want to know, and I can learn from you too. I mean, I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I like to think that I know a lot, but every time I go to a coin show, I learn something new, and I think that this back and forth with the chat on this live stream here is helpful for me too, because if you think about it, someone who teaches, they have to learn a lot about something before they can give a lesson on it. Okay, I'm going to do one final question here from Walker Azul. I think seeded dollars will be a good litmus test for how the market responds to CAC grading service. When I looked at auction records, fewer than 5% of the seeded dollars were CAC approved. That's an interesting statistic. That's a very interesting statistic. And why is that? Well, there are a lot of seeded dollars that have been processed, and that is one area where you have an issue. Part of it is because they're such big coins. It's really rare for them to be well preserved over the years. I mean, they're heavy, they hit against other coins, they get bag marks or damage to the edges, rim dings, rim nicks. And then you add to that the processing, and all of a sudden, CAC is going to be very particular in what they put a sticker on. So I can see where that would be the case. Now, Walker Azul asks a good question. How does CAC, how are they going to approach seeded dollars? Does that mean that there's not going to be any seeded dollars in a CAC holder? I don't know. So we'll have to see. Anyway, thank you all for viewing. If you like content like this, go see the other videos on my channel. I've been posting a number of shorts, which are 60-second or less videos, and those seem to be pretty popular. And I'm going to try to post one of those every day, just because I'll pick a random coin and put it up there for you. So check my other channel. Definitely subscribe to the channel. That helps me out a lot. And hit the notification bell so that every time I post a new video, YouTube will let you know that there's something for you to watch. So anyway, thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate you being here. And we'll see you next week, 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern time, and bring some more questions. I'll see you again in a week. Thank you. Bye-bye.